Federal money to help tackle the housing crisis in our region. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Local MPs Patty Hajdu and Marcus Pawlowski announced $84 million today to help build or repair affordable homes. The money will be put toward nearly 5,000 units across Northern Ontario. Joel Mendelson joins us live with more on the story. Joel.
Thanks, Ryan. The $84 million comes in the form of contributions and low-cost loans to help build and repair 4,966 affordable homes in Northern Ontario, as well as in many Indigenous communities in the region. The District of Thunder Bay Social Services Board is receiving close to $3 million of the funding. It will go toward repairing over 2,100 units in Thunder Bay.
This is going to be really good for our region. Obviously, there's some projects already underway. It's about saving affordable housing that's already in place, something that's actually one of the most cost-effective ways to make sure that we can ensure people have a safe place to live.
Some of the other big projects on the list include $16 million for a 56-unit seniors residence in Kenora and $12 million for a 40-unit seniors residence in Dryden. MP Marcus Pawlowski says these projects help make life more affordable overall for many people.
With respect to food and being able to afford the cost of living. And certainly if a good part of your income just goes to paying for your housing, it makes it that much more difficult to buy food and everything else you need in life. Along
with the funding, the TBDSSAB will also receive benefits from the newly implemented Frequent Builder Framework. This will drastically expedite applications for the Affordable Housing Fund for builders who have proven track records of building multi-residential units. Some of the benefits include a streamlined process through intake, underwriting, and approval stages, and even possibly funding commitments for future years, which will allow the organization to better plan and predict their future projects. Hajdu explains how experienced builders are well equipped.
Because they're ready to go. They likely will have sites selected, they will have contracts and relationships with builders, and they've been in the business, so they understand how quickly how quickly they need to act to meet the need.
Overall, 35 communities in Northern Ontario are receiving funding under the Affordable Housing Fund, including 27 First Nations projects. Now back to you, Ryan, in the studio.
Okay, thanks a lot, Joel. And as the housing crisis in this country unfolds, Ontario developers are asking all levels of government for tax breaks on new housing. The coalition says the developers will pass on the savings dollar to dollar to homeowners. This group is composed of 18 developers who collectively plan to build 100,000 new housing units over the next 10 years. The coalition wants to see federal and provincial governments remove the harmonized sales tax on all new housing, as they've done for rental housing construction. Thunder Bay police have arrested a 29-year-old man from Brampton following a major drug bust in the city yesterday. Search warrants were executed at an apartment on Victoria Avenue and another on Albany Street. Nearly a kilogram of cocaine was seized.
There's a tremendous amount of potential damage and destruction in the community that has been taken off the streets, again, by a one-off investigation.
That investigation began back in April, leading to this week's raid by the Intelligence and Emergency Task Units. Along with the kilogram of cocaine, police also confiscated around 200 grams of crack cocaine and fentanyl and $10,000 in cash. Police also seized a loaded handgun at one of the homes.
This is project-level seizures in terms of the amounts that we're taking in, and of course with the associated firearm. And here, this is a single investigation. It's a investigation, as I say, began in April, is now concluded with these search warrants and with this arrest, and the amounts are significant.
The suspect is a repeat offender with previous drug and weapons arrests in Brampton in 2016 and in Thunder Bay in 2021. He faces 7 charges and remains in custody while he awaits a future court date. In an effort to improve public trust, Thunder Bay Police Chief Darcy Fleury is planning several town hall meetings in the fall, and he'll also respond to questions from the community in a new Q&A video series. Jaden Billick explains.
The Thunder Bay Police Service will be welcoming questions about policing from the community under a new initiative called Ask the Chief. Chief Darcy Fleury will then respond to the questions in a series of videos, which are then shared with the community. Fleury says this will be a crucial way to hear directly from the people and get their thoughts about the police service.
So yeah, later on in the fall, we're going to be putting these videos out. We're going to be asking people to, for their questions again, and then we'll answer them by doing videos. So, because sometimes what we do see quite often is many people have the same question. So there'll be an opportunity to get those questions in, answer them, and maybe hit a broader audience with the same answer.
Meanwhile, a series of town hall meetings will also be scheduled sometime in the fall, titled Chat with the Chief, Policing in Our Community. Fleury says the Q&A format will probably include a lot of questions improving the service and providing more community-oriented policing and enforcement strategies. Questions about overall priorities will also be asked and answered. Fleury says an open dialogue is a proven way to strengthen trust amongst the community.
So this is really important to us. Like the whole idea behind the expansion of these kinds of programs is to get that community engagement. And from the beginning, we talked about having that important piece to add to our strategic plan with the board, go to our action plan as an organization. So the feedback that we get is so important to us because, you know, every group of people has certain needs or wants as far as policing goes. So this is really, really important so we can give a more fulsome picture and present that to the board and then develop our plan.
An online survey will also be available throughout the month of August and can be found on the City Police website. Jaden Billick, TBT News.
Canada Border Services is expecting a big increase in traffic at the Pigeon River crossing this long weekend. Chief of Operations Charles Fisher says travelers should anticipate lineups between now and Monday evening.
August historically has been one of the busier long weekends for us at Pigeon River and across northwestern Ontario. So expecting that to be the case again this year. Traffic in general has been pretty close to what it was pre-pandemic. It seems to have rebounded, over the last year and a bit.
Fisher says many people use this long weekend for back-to-school shopping. For others, it's a chance to bring the family on a trip to the States before school resumes. Fisher has some tips for travelers to help keep things moving efficiently at the border throughout the weekend.
The biggest thing is just to be prepared. So that means making sure that you have your travel documents in order, in both directions. In addition to that, coming back to Canada, know what you're bringing back with you, add up your purchases, know what type of goods you're bringing back, and be prepared to make a full declaration to the officer when you get to the window. That will help speed things up.
Meanwhile, there are changes on the American side of the border for people bringing dogs into the U.S. As of today, all dogs must be at least 6 months old, have a microchip, and appear healthy before they're allowed into the country. An online import form also needs to be filled out ahead of time. That can be found on the American CDC website. It was a beautiful day at the Fort William Country Club for the 12th annual Hometown Heroes Charity Golf Classic. The fundraiser supports the George Jeffrey Children's Foundation. For the third time, it was hosted by the Krista McCarville curling team. It all kicked off with a shotgun start this morning for the 18-hole scramble tournament. 136 players came out to participate in the fundraiser with various contests and activities throughout the day. It was followed by a dinner, awards, and a celebration of the hometown curling heroes. McCarville says they always love having the chance to be a part of this special day.
Obviously, we want to support a great charity. George Jeffrey's is unbelievable. Our children have been there. Sarah has 2 autistic children. Ashley's had her son go there. My son has gone there. And I just think what an amazing event and a charity to support. And we will do this time and time again to help them.
I think we're on par for about 92 to 95. So we're excited that the sponsors in our community are great. The prize donors, the volunteers that come out really help to make this event successful.
Really critical to supporting the programs and services at George Jeffrey Children's Center. Some of these initiatives that aren't covered by our government funding.
The Hometown Heroes Charity Golf Classic is the only annual fundraiser for the George Jeffrey Children's Foundation. Bennett says they're very grateful for all the support year after year. The 34th annual Festa Italiana is back again this long weekend at the Italian Cultural Center. The popular event features live entertainment and, of course, authentic Italian food. A media kickoff was organized today by the Italian Society of Port Arthur, including a performance by the Stella Alpini Italian dancers. Organizers say this year's Festa will bring the community together once again for delicious Italian gnocchi, pasta, and meatballs. There are also eating competitions, live stage performances by local and international artists, a beer garden, and children's activities. Italian Society spokesperson Matt Pascuzzo says there's a lot of fun to look forward to.
I think obviously the food is a big draw. I mean, the gnocchi and the elephant ears and the pasta is a huge draw for people, but certainly the entertainment as well. You've seen the lineup this year. It's a pretty big lineup. We have Viva playing, the Hot Rods again, but it's going to be exactly how we've seen it in previous years, just people coming out and enjoying the long weekend.
Festa Italiana will run on Sunday and Holiday Monday from noon until 11 p.m. And of course, if you're going to be at Festa, Fiona, you're going to want to have the sunscreen out, no doubt, if the temperatures are anything like we've seen over the past couple of days.
Wait a minute, we've got to back up, because I know every year when the reporters go to check out Festa Italia, they usually come back with some food, and yep. I was not called about the food being in the building.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. Apparently you missed the memo.
Apparently I'm definitely going to have to be there. I missed out. Yeah. I'm feeling very left out. But yes, you are right. The sunscreen is definitely going to be important this year. The good news is it's probably not going to be as hot as it has been, which is more important, especially since you've got all those performers out there dancing on that outdoor stage. And we've got beautiful temperatures today. In some cases, you might find it a little bit too beautiful. Although we started out with a low of 17, we warmed all the way up to 31 Celsius. But when you factor in the humidex, it felt closer to 38 under mostly cloudy skies. Winds were relatively light, but coming from the west-southwest, 8 to 17 kilometers per hour. Now, across the region, we've actually had a lot of sunshine in most of the area. To the west, lots of sunshine in Fort Frances. They're actually at their high of 28 Celsius, but the humidex topped out at about 33, as was the case up into Red Lake at this time. We've got the high 20s at this hour for Pickle Lake, Kenora, Sioux Lookout, Dryden, Upsala, and then we're back at 31 at this hour for Armstrong. Loads of sunshine in that region. Greenstone currently at 29, and a humidex that hit 37 about an hour ago. I think it's maybe just a little lower now, but not much. So very hot as you head further east. It was actually a little bit cooler to the west. Along the North Shore, Marathon is currently at 22, Wawa 21, but don't let those numbers fool you, because it's not the temperature, it's the humidex value that really is the kicker. And the humidex still hit the low 30s, and at this time is still in the high 20s. Sault Ste. Marie, they saw the humidex top out at 36, but that was despite mostly cloudy skies throughout the day. Here in the city of Thunder Bay, going to be basically a repeat of what you saw last night. We have a risk of showers this evening. Then we should be seeing partly cloudy skies and a low of 17. Winds will be primarily from the west, starting out at about 30 kilometers per hour, but then tapering off overnight. We've got more sunshine on the way. Friday is going to be another hot one, maybe not quite as hot as what we saw today, but once we get through the work week, as we head into the weekend, we're actually expecting to get a bit of a reprieve from the heat warnings that have just been blanketing the region. So with so much going on for a long weekend, I think that's good news for most folks.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people want to see those temperatures come down a few degrees for sure.
Especially while they're eating their pasta.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's turn our attention to international news now. A major prisoner swap today between Russia and several other countries. Now, two of the prisoners who've been released from Russian prisons are Canadian-born Paul Whelan, he's a former U.S. Marine, as well as an American journalist with the Wall Street Journal. We'll have details on that and more when your Thursday News Hour continues right after the break.
Germany, Poland, Slovenia, Norway, and Turkey, they all stepped up and they stood with us.